Welcome, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us tonight. Montgomery Parks is ready to start a facility plan for this future park in Littonsville. We were planning to start the project right before the pandemic. Due to the Purple Line construction delay, we had to put the project on hold. So we're excited to be able to, we're ready to get started now. And we're here to share the project information and to get your input. Before we start, I want to let you know this presentation is being recorded and will be posted on the project website. During the presentation, you can submit your questions and comments by clicking the Q&A box at the upper right of your screen. And feel free to submit your question during the presentation. And after the presentation, we'd like to invite you to participate in an open town hall survey. We have some questions. I would like to get your input. What is a facility plan? Facility plan is to take the master plan or the sector plan's recommendation to develop a project to about 30% complete, so we can confirm feasibility, we can develop cost estimate, and we can obtain some preliminary permit. So then we will pursue funding for the project. So this project is to do the facility plan. So when Purple Line is ready to transfer the property to us, we are prepared. So today's meeting's agenda, the park panelists will present the project background information. I will review the project, will provide the project overview, and my colleague, Cheryl Spicer from Park Planning and Stewardship Division, and Chuck Kynes, they will go over the cultural and history background. Chuck will present the sector plan and preliminary program. And I will share some relevant examples. And my supervisor, Patricia McManus, will moderate the Q&A discussion. And with me also on the panel list are Brian Lewandowski, the project engineer, and the park manager, Carl Herrero, and Officer Sharad, Park Police. So this project is located about 3/4 miles from the Beltway on the south side of the train track. In Littonsville, it's almost like the center of Littonsville. And it's right adjacent to the Purple Line and Capitol Crescent Trail. And there are a couple of parks nearby, but particularly the 17-acre Rosemary Hills Littonsville Local Park has a lot of amenities, multi-courts, fields, playground, and a community center and picnic area that serve this area. Purple Line is a 16-mile light rail line that will extend from Bethesda to New Carrollton, connect Montgomery and Prince George's County. And this new park is located in the segment of Greater Littonsville and Woodside. It's in proximity about 1/4 mile to the future Littonsville station, and twice as far to the 16th Street Woodside station. And this information is from the MTA Purple Line Community Advisory Team meeting, the recent meeting. And based on the information, we learned that the Purple Line expects to be in operation fall of 2026. And you can see this light green dashed line is the Capitol Crescent Trail. this site, this is a vicinity map. You can see it's to the south of the train track with Capitol fronting the future Capitol Crescent Trail. It's formerly wooded, and there are a couple single-family dwelling immediately adjacent to the parcel. The site is 0.84 acre. It's about 300 feet long by 130 feet wide. This is an overlay of a construction drawing of the segment of the Capitol Crescent Trail fronting the park. And this is the overlay. The parcel is surrounded by single-family dwelling with industrial to the west. And this is Rosemary Hill Elementary School and some denser housing nearby the industrial. So it's at the end of Talbot Avenue between Kansas and Michigan. The site has no sensitive environmental constraints, except there's this steep drop down to the train track level. The site is currently used as a staging area for Purple Line construction. And MTA and MDOT has conducted some soil analysis for the parcel. The parcel highlighted in green is the parcel that's going to transfer to the parks. And based on the investigation, we learned that some of the sampling site, the reading are above the residential cleanup standard. Additional investigation was conducted 2021. Again, we want to make sure we understand what's under the park. And so the result concluded that it's not recommended to use the site-generated soil for field grading. Any exposed soil at cut need to be covered by engineering control. So the parks has worked out with MTA. So it's the agreement is the MTA will conduct initial site cleanup before they transfer the property to us by removing all stone and underlying filter fabric and remove the top 18 inches of soil and stabilize with turf vegetation. And when parks construct the new park, we'll make sure using the engineering control to make sure the park is safe. So now I'm gonna ask Cheryl to go over Littonsville and the bridge.
Good evening. My name is Cheryl Spicer. I'm the Cultural Resources Manager with Montgomery Parks. And historic Littonsville was an all African-American enclave within Silver Spring, founded in the 1850s by a freedman named Samuel Lytton. And it is one of the oldest of the free Black communities within the county. Next slide. As we see here on this slide, we have an early illustration of the plat from the 1901 plat book showing location of Littonville and the number of 12 lots that are here at the time of 1863 when Samuel Lytton purchased a 4-acre tract within the area just near Brookville Road. We can go to the next slide. Within this slide, this is from 1917 from a U.S. Geological Survey map. You'll see in the shaded area, there is the orange line that runs through the shaded area, which is the sector plan area we'll be looking at, but Littonsville sits just to the north of that, and then you have North Woodside just below it, and these are becoming two segregated communities. Littonsville is predominantly African American and Woodside predominantly white. Moving to next slide. Thank you. So here we see today Littonsville area, and the area outlined in green right below the arrow, which illustrates the railway line, is the Littonsville area, and to the north of that is North Woodside. Right here at the bottom right of the slide, you'll see the red line, and that denotes the Talbot Avenue Bridge. The Talbot Avenue Bridge is a historic one-lane wood and steel bridge that crossed the CSX railroad tracks between Hanover Street and Lanier Drive. And this bridge, this historic landmark, provided African-American residents access to employment, to shopping, recreational opportunities, which were unavailable within the Littonsville community. So the bridge represents also this historic connection between these two segregated communities. And next slide. And one more. So in this slide, we have the bridge, hang on one second, right there. So this bridge, which is over 100 years old at this point, but at its 100-year-old phase, it was deteriorating, and it was demolished in 2019. And it is due to be replaced with a new bridge in conjunction with the construction of the Purple Line. What we see here in this image are two stalwart leaders of the Littonsville community. In that upper left image, you have Mrs. Caulfield and Mrs. Charlotte Caulfield and Mrs. Patricia Tyson, who are longtime residents and leaders within the Littonsville community. And these are just some scenes from one of the last public functions which celebrated a commemoration of the Talbot Avenue Bridge before it was demolished. Next slide. Here we have the remnants of the historic bridge that have been retained and are being preserved so that they can be incorporated into the new plans for the neighborhood park, as this project does intend to take this historic bridge, its remnants, and commemorate this unique history and the rich culture of the greater Littonsville area. Thank you, and I'll turn it over to my colleague, Chuck Kynes.
Great. Thank you, Cheryl. My name is Chuck Kynes. I'm the park planner assigned to this facility planning project, and I was also the park planner assigned to the Greater Littonsville Sector Plan that was approved by the Planning Board in 2017. Next slide. So as I said, go back. So the sector plan had lots of community involvement and engagement. Many of the people with whom I worked on that plan are likely here tonight. Hello to all of you. I'm looking forward to working with you again on this project. The sector plan strives to make the community more accessible to transit via improving opportunities for bicycling and walking to the two future Purple Line stations in this area. What I recall fondly during my work on the sector plan in this community is that it's very proud of its history and continually seeks opportunities to celebrate it and share its story with others. Next slide. This map shows the existing land use in Littonsville. The red star is the location of the park we're discussing tonight, or future park. The community is primarily composed of residential, industrial, and institutional land uses. There's not much existing commercial. Most of the residential is single family, but there's also multifamily, both high-rise and garden style. The largest single land use in the community is the U.S. Army's Walter Reed Annex, shown in blue at the top of the screen. Next slide. Thank you. This map shows the proposed changes in land use recommended in the sector plan. Most of the changes are intended to increase the amount of housing near the future Purple Line station and add a modest amount of commercial retail. The future and changes include converting industrial land to mixed use residential and commercial, and increasing residential density and adding commercial to existing multifamily properties. Next slide. As I mentioned already, a major focus of the sector plan is making it easier and safer to walk and bike in the community and efficiently connect to the future Purple Line stations. This map shows the proposed network of pedestrian routes, both existing and future sidewalks. Next slide. This map shows the network of bicycle routes, both on-road and off-road. The Capitol Crescent Trail is shown as SP6 on this map, although I think it has a different designation in the updated bicycle master plan. The Capitol Crescent Trail passes immediately adjacent to the future park we're discussing tonight. Next slide. This map shows the proposed network of parks for the community as recommended in the sector plan. The parking we're talking about tonight is not a master plan recommendation. It is a bonus park per se. The land was offered to us after the sector plan was approved and adopted. Rock Creek Stream Valley Park and Rosemary Hills Littonville Local Park are the only existing parks in the community, and all the proposed parks will be provided as part of future redevelopment. The timing of this redevelopment is not yet known, but could come as soon as the completion of the Purple Line, depending on market trends. There will also be privately owned public open space, also known as POPs, along the Capitol Crescent Trail, which will also be provided as part of future redevelopment. Next slide. I'm now going to move on to our preliminary analysis and recommendations for the future park we're talking about tonight. This is a simplified map showing all the existing and proposed parkland, as well as the privately owned public spaces and the proposed off-road bikeway and park trail network. You can also see the location of the future park we're talking about tonight, denoted in the red star. Next slide. The future park is envisioned as a trailside park, taking advantage of its immediate adjacency to the Capitol Crescent Trail. There are opportunities to both offer facilities for trail users, as well as facilities that can serve the residents who live nearby. And of course, it will also include the remnants of the Talbot Avenue Bridge, which will be a platform for interpreting the community's rich history. Next slide. This slide shows our preliminary program of requirements, which means the elements we think should be the starting point for discussions with the community about the designs for this park. So what we're saying is we want to restore as much as the natural tree shade as possible. As Xingfang mentioned, the site is cleared because it's being used as a Purple Line staging. So we want to restore as much tree and shade as possible, and provide a buffer between the houses and the park, both a visual and an auditory buffer. And the trees will help do that. Create a rest stop along the Capitol Crescent Trail, offering both a contemplative experience where there'll be seating with shade and you can watch the trail users, a social experience where you can watch people go by and people in the community can gather, and also some active experiences, perhaps some adult fitness equipment. Of course, the park will include interpretive signs explaining and describing the story and history of this community. There'll be many options that we'll be talking about on how to reuse the Talbot Avenue Bridge remnants, whether it's one of the things that was discussed earlier that I think has been is no longer on the table is the Capitol Crescent Trail passing through a part of the bridge. I don't think that is on the table, but using the remnants in the park space is certainly something we're looking at. And possible amenities can include a drinking fountain, benches and seating, adult fitness equipment, and a bicycle maintenance station. And I'm now going to hand it back to Xingfang to walk through some examples.
Chuck. So I would like to take this opportunity to share some examples that we found relevant and point out some nice components that may be applicable to this park. So the first project that I came across, which I think is very exciting, I see this project. This is called the Rondo Commemorative Plaza in St. Paul, Minnesota. This Rondo community was destroyed because Highway 94 bisected the community. So the community created this pocket park to commemorate the African American community. And this was made possible through advocacy, partnership with a grant. As you can see, it's a small, our site is bigger than this. And it's also adjacent to roadway and to single family dwelling. And besides, it's a park to commemorate the community. It also provides community open space for people to gather and flexible space for children to play. And as you can see, this is like a history walk that have to tell the story about the community, at the same time provide a nice buffer for the park. So without taking more space, it could provide a lot of interpretive opportunity, places to hang out, to sit around. And this is a pavilion that have elements to commemorate the different neighborhood. As you can see, this is the walkway for people to learn and to remember. As you can see, there's a little wooden fence behind. This can show how effective, this is a way to not only create a buffer, but also provide a lot of interpretation opportunities. Places to sit together at night and day. So this is another example. Since the parcel for this new park is kind of like a part of a greenway park. So it has the Capitol Crescent Trail moving right against the park. So this is also an interesting example, because this is like a elevated linear park, about 500 meters long in Australia. And you can see there are zones for people to move fast. There are also areas for people to stay, area for people to play some games, to sit, to observe people. So I was thinking, for this new parcel, right fronting the trail, we can have some amenity to support the trail. But then we're in the interior of the park, we can create different experience. In this park, they also have this communal table. They also have things like a study pod or outdoor work area. And so people can gather to eat together, to talk, to work. It's a wonderful place to get together. As you can see, they have open space and little alcoves for people to take a break, to cool down, or to have a conversation. So this next project is called the Garden of the Third Train. It's a memorial park in France to commemorate the centennial of the World War I. And it may seem a little abstractive, but this is, this has more nature. It has tree shade and have space for people to wander, to experience. And if you just imagine, if this wooden sculpture is a member of the bridge member, and it's a possible way of incorporate the member. Of course, it needs some preservation and all that. So people can touch, people can actually, so the monument, it's not something just to look at, but it's something people can touch and to experience. Of course, this need to have a lot more study. And sharing the project is not, it's meant to share the experience, not a particular tree or particular paving material. It's just to share this atmosphere of contemplative, like what's recommended in the sector plan for social, for contemplative experience. As you can see, there are places for people to read, to sit, to relax. There are also, people can gather and wander to experience this wonderful garden and park. What's so nice about it is it has this nice shade. So it creates a wonderful outdoor room for people to enjoy. And here's another example. It's the Baxter Riverfront Park in Massachusetts. And in this example, you can see they also have some remnant of historic structure that's incorporated in the park. In this case, it's more of like an entry feature. It's grand, but the park includes enough green and vegetation to balance that. Nice walkway and places for people to sit, to get together. So I envision this parcel, we can portion it. So fronting the trail, we have area that's more active, supporting the trail. And then we have zones that's closer to the single family dwelling, can have more shade, more nature. It's more private. And there's also this concept of tiny forests. It's the idea of not just planting trees, but have 4 layers of this mini ecosystem. So it can provide a lot of benefit for the ecosystem, for people too. Imagine how wonderful it would be to sit and be sheltered and be surrounded by nice vegetation. In addition, we know there are playground nearby. This park doesn't need to dedicate it to create a playground, but there are opportunities more for multi-generational use, such as a ping pong table or fitness on the edges. And here's an example of the bike repair station and provide drinking fountain, things like that. So the schedule is we're here and we like to get your input to start the concept design. And then with your input, we'll in the fall and winter, we'll advance the project and develop it further and to develop cost estimate. And we would like to come up with the recommended plan and obtain the preliminary permits and submit the project to the planning board for approval. So the intent is to complete the facility plan by next summer. And so this project can be included in the next CIP request. So the budget will be developed once the design is evolved. So the process is, we're at this point, getting the project started, and then we'll develop the design and we'll present the design to you for feedback. And then with that, we'll develop the recommended alternative based on your input and then submit to the planning board for approval. And all the oranges, so throughout the process, you will have opportunity to voice your input and to participate in the process. And here are the links, the project page and the town hall survey. We'd like to invite you to participate. And also the more information about Purple Line, about Capitol Crescent Trail. And feel free to email me or call me. So this concludes our presentation for the background. and we would like to open for discussion. And we would like to know if you have any question about the background, about the parcel, and what's your interest about the program, any preferred amenity or any example that we shared that you have any, do you like it or not? Or if you have any good examples to share with us. So with that, I want to turn to my supervisor, Patricia McManus. She's going to help moderate the Q&A session.
Okay, thanks, Qingfang. I'm Tricia McManus, our design section supervisor, and our project team is going to work together to address your questions and your comments. And so in addition to the staff that you've heard from during the presentation, I did want to reintroduce, we have Brian Lewandowski, who's our project engineer, who's been answering some of the questions. And we have Carl Hiralal, our park manager, as well as Sergeant Trevin Sherrard from Park Police. So thank you for joining us. I'd also like to take a moment to welcome, we have State Delegate Jared Solomon, who's joined us tonight. And thank you so much for participating. We always appreciate elected officials who take interest and time, to participate in our projects. And we also have Silver Spring Regional Services Center Director Jacob Newman, who was on the call. So welcome, and thank you also for joining us. So we'll start running through the questions, and hopefully we'll get to everything as we go along. And please, add additional questions and comments, as we go through the discussion. So I'll start with, there was a comment about what are the community's options for suggesting a specific park name. And that is actually one of the questions in our open town hall survey. So we have a few suggestions in the survey that have come up from the community and others. And so, we will be asking that question in the survey, and you can include, any ideas that you have. I do want to, I guess we have made Delegate Solomon a panelist, so I'd like to ask if he would like to make any comments before we go further.
Thank you, Tricia. I was having trouble getting to my unmute button. I just wanted to say, it's a joy to work with this community, and I know everybody is really excited to see this park come to fruition. I know, obviously, been a little frustrated with the timing of the Purple Line, but I think we are well underway with the construction. We had a really productive community advisory team meeting last week with the new contractors who are coming on board, and I think we're all excited to see that work is going to be well underway in the next couple of weeks. And, just excited we were able to preserve the bridge. Obviously, that is, such an incredible piece of history for the community, and just thrilled that it's going to be incorporated into the park as well as the rest of the community history. And, I'll speak on behalf of my other colleagues in the House of Delegates for our district and our senator. I know we all stand ready to do whatever we can to figure out if we can get some funding and help the Parks Department to make the park as much of a success as it can be. So just really excited that we're moving forward on this, and I will make sure my contact information is in the chat for anybody who has any issues that they need to follow up on. But thank you again.
Okay, thank you so much. And we really do appreciate the support from our state representatives. They do support many of our projects and provide funding that helps us move projects forward faster than we might otherwise be able to. So we appreciate your support. The next few questions, and I wanted to open this discussion, maybe have Chuck weigh in on this, but we know that there's quite a lot of interest for having a dog park in this parcel, and we have, we've seen some emails and people who are quite interested in this. And as Chuck pointed out, there are some additional parks coming into the sector plan area that will be developed, through private development. And we do anticipate the area developing more quickly once the purple line is there and those stops are nearby. This area will be more attractive for development. So from a staff perspective, our initial thought is that this is not a suitable site for a dog park. It's immediately adjacent to homes, and we have found in some of our other site suitability studies for dog parks that this is something that can be a nuisance to the people who live immediately adjacent to it. We also, this is a very small parcel. It's less than an acre, and we have certain criteria for dog parks, such as the size, and ideally there would be a few parking spaces at least nearby to accommodate people, because they tend to draw people from further distances. So I would like Chuck, if you could jump in and address this, because we have given this some thought, and I'd like to make sure we thoroughly address the issue.
Sure. Yeah, you hit on most of it. I think the biggest issues are for me, from a park planning perspective, are the fact that the homes are immediately adjacent, and as you mentioned, some neighbors of dog parks can perceive it as a nuisance, hearing the dogs bark all the time. And I know the town of Chevy Chase had a dog park that I don't know if it's still there, but there were many, many complaints because the dog park was surrounded by many existing homes. And I think it was just a poor decision to put it there in the first place. So if we have a choice, we really avoid putting dog parks close to homes. And as you also mentioned, dog parks, because there aren't that many yet, we are trying to provide more. But until we get to the point where we have many more dog parks, all dog parks tend to be a regional draw. And because of that we have to have an adequate amount of parking. Even 2 or 3 spaces would not be enough. What we're talking about here is probably 15 or 20 spaces. And we just don't have that ability to do that here. We don't want to use the park space for parking because we want to use the park space for amenities. And because the sector plan is really trying to encourage more people to bike and walk, and because the park is right next to a regional trail, we just feel like this is not the right location for a dog park. There are future parks that will be coming to this community where dog parks could work. Yeah, if you could go to the slide 43. Go up one. Yeah, that one. So what this map is showing is future parks, the active recreation destination that you see on the apartment complex site. I forget the name of the apartment complex, Southern Hills, maybe. On that site, when that property redevelops, we will be getting a new linear daylit stream and park adjacent to the stream, and a active recreation park adjacent to it. And that would be the location for a dog park, I think, in the future. In the meantime, what can we do for this community? I think we could look at alternative locations for dog parks in this general area. I just don't think this new park space is the right location. I just don't think it's going to gain any traction internally within our agency.
Okay, thanks, Chuck. If there's any additional issues, you want us to touch on, please feel free to put them in the Q&A, and we can come back to this. The next comment is, do we think there's any possibility to meander or relocate the trail alignment other than what is shown on the purple line plans? So right now, the purple line alignment really hugs the boundary of the park parcel and is right along the edge of the purple line. And Qingfang, maybe you could address this. I think that there may be a possibility to meander it a little bit, but I think we did look at that early on, and it actually, because it's making its way around that curve, that along the purple line, it would take up space within the park. There could be, as we look at the design, there could be a desire to do that, but it may also just utilize more of the park and prevent it from being used for other uses. But Qingfang, could you give us your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like what you said, this is the most efficient way of aligning the trail so we can have as much area for the park as possible. And by keeping the trail on one side, the park won't be cut up. So this is an interesting question. We haven't thought about that. And we were always given the green bubble. We only have the property within the green bubble. So we're not designing the trail alignment. We could reach out to the team and entertain the idea, but my understanding is that they're pretty far along. Their construction drawing and all that has been developed.
Okay, thanks. There's a question, will there be time for people to share ideas? And we do, in our open town hall questionnaire, we do have several, open-ended questions where people can give us comments and ideas. And if you have any specific ideas you want us to address in the meeting, please feel free to put them in the Q&A. Here's a comment about potentially using skate feature. So this could be incorporated into the design. Chuck, do you have any, Chuck or Qingfang, do you have any thoughts about, skate features within the park?
Yeah, this is Chuck Kynes. I think we would be open to that discussion. It really is a matter of avoiding conflicts with other trail users. But I think you could add some skating elements. I don't think you're talking about a skate spot like you have at Woodside Urban Park, but you could have some elements for skaters who are using the Capitol Crescent Trail and then want to divert off into this park and enjoy some features. But I really wouldn't want it to take up a whole lot of space, like at Woodside Urban Park. I don't know if that's the appropriate configuration here.
Yeah, and again, the idea is to have that kind of activity, more trail-related amenity on the edges. Maybe it's only on one end, so then we can preserve the integrity of the rest of the park. So the more active components maybe toward the northern portion and along the edges. So because the site has 15 feet of grade change, so we're gonna have to terrace the site to accommodate the different programs. And we will be happy to look into what opportunity we could create. But I agree with Chuck, it's more of an element. It's not an area that's to invite a lot of skater. It's more like if people running their skateboard along the Capitol Crescent Trail, they can do a little trick, or they can come in and cool down and take a break. It's that kind of, it's more of a rest stop. It's not a destination.
I agree. It's not we don't want it to be a gathering space for skaters. No. Mm-mm.
Okay, thanks. We have a member of a board member from the Coalition for the Capitol Crescent Trail, and we're happy to hear any, ideas and thoughts that you have about the park. So, we welcome to any comments that you might have or any input that you have. We're happy to engage with the coalition. And any of our our staff, jump in anytime you want to add to any of these comments as well, even if I don't call on you. The next question is, will any dwellings be sacrificed? And no, we're not removing any houses or any nearby residences. We're working entirely within the parcel that was shown on the map, which is the current staging area for the Purple Line. And then this next comment I'd like to address to Sergeant Sherrard and Carl Hiralal, our operations staff, our park manager and park police. This is a question about who would be responsible for the upkeep of the park, and that there have been some, destruction of historical signs that were put in place. And I see Carl is answering that with text, but if you can talk about the park a little bit and the park operations, maybe you could add some, thoughts about the hours of the park and what our typical ways of managing the park would be.
So thank you, Patricia. So basically this park would be on a 7 to 10 day mowing cycle. And the mowing team will come from the Meadowbrook Maintenance Facility. There'll be 2-time trash pickup, probably on the weekend and during the week. And I'll let the park police come in with the lighting.
Yes, I'll piggyback off of that. Yes, if you see parks or if you see things being damaged and destroyed, please contact the park police. We can be reached at 301-949-8010. That's 301-949-8010. If there's any type of vandalism, we'll come out and take a report, and we need to know anyhow, because there's certain types of vandalisms that gets classified in a different manner. Those are typically your RREs, which stands for a vandalism that's race, religious, or ethnicity involved. So we come out, we count those as hate crimes, and we document them accordingly. But any type of vandalism, anything that's just wrong or out of order in the park, and you believe it's a police matter, give us a phone call, please. We'll always come out and check it out. And if it's not a police matter, we'll defer to the appropriate division to handle those particular orders and requests. As far as park hours and operations, typically parks are open at sunrise and parks close at sunset. So parks are open at sunrise, parks close at sunset. As far as the sunset, we typically just like to tell people, when it's dark outside, because the sun can set at 7:30 p.m., but it'll still be plenty of daylight out. So pretty much open during the day, closed at night. The only exception to that is if there's a basketball court, a tennis court, some type of field with lighting. Then if that field or court or what have you has lighting, then that portion of the park can remain open until the lighting is out. If there's no lighting on the basketball court or field or what have you, the park is closed at dark. Any questions on that?
Thank you. That's very helpful. And we'll see if anyone has any follow-up questions. But and Carl, did you want to add anything else to that?
Yeah, and on the basketball lights, our time frame is 11 o'clock at night. So there's a court light system. They'll run to 11 o'clock.
But that wouldn't occur in this park. This is not going to have formal facilities like that. So there's a question here also about for people who back up to the park, what will back up to their homes? And Ching Fang, I think you might want to address this as well. I think we did want to, and there's a comment about invasive plant species that are also coming into the yards.
Yes, the park, we haven't designed anything yet, but there are several things that are really important. We think should be, the priority is to create a vegetative buffer. And it's not just a buffer, it's just, like some of the examples that I share. It's beautiful, it's aesthetically pleasing and ecologically sound to create a nice green buffer to buffer the immediate residents, at the same time to provide habitat, urban habitat, and also shade for people to enjoy the park. So I was talking about some gradation, along the trail is more supporting the trail amenity, but then as it closer to the single family dwelling, we envision it to be more quiet, it's pleasant, it's green. We envision this park to be green. It's not, there's the trail, there's the train track and all that, this is, we want this to be a beautiful park. So it's important to us. And also MNC PPC, we have our own Hope Farm nursery. And I already talked to our urban forester and the Hope Farm nursery. We have big trees. When we're ready to implement the construction, we want to bring in good soil and nice trees to the property, and we'll take care of it to control invasive. So we want this to be a holistic and a healthy park for you all.
Thanks, Ching-Fang. And before you go, here's another design question about possibly including a accessible fountain or a water feature. Is that something we would entertain in the design?
We could. That related to the cost. Of course, it would be wonderful to have that, and we will look into that. Perhaps something, since we have to bring a water line to provide drinking fountain and all that. If we already have a water line, perhaps we can explore a way to create something that's nice, but without burdening our maintenance team.
Okay, thanks. And there's some comments again about the dog park that Chuck, Chuck, you're answering this now, but maybe you could answer live about the possibility of utilizing a portion of Rosemary Hills Park for a dog park, or, again, a comment, someone thinking this is still a good spot for a dog park.
Yeah, what I was typing in there is that as part of our site suitability analysis, this park didn't pop up as a potential location for a dog park, and I'd have to go back to the analysis to find out exactly why. But what I would say is that if there was enough community support, we might take another look, but I would have to go back and check the analysis for why this park didn't pop up on our analysis as a potential location. I think there are other parks nearby that it might work better. And I'm happy to talk with the people offline about that.
I look into this a little bit because my colleague is working on infrastructural improvement for Rosemary Hill, Littonsville. And I discussed this request with him, and I learned that the available area is still immediately adjacent to single family dwelling. So it's just too close to single family. That's what I know. I also know that the Rosemary Hill renovation is primarily for ADA accessibility and infrastructural. So they won't be able to accommodate new amenity at this point.
Okay, thank you. There's just a question, is solar lighting an option in the park? And and feel free to jump in, anybody on this, but I think we would not intend to light the park, although, and Chuck, you may know this better than I do, I think some portions of the Capitol Crescent Trail have been lit. So I don't know if the trail would, if there are plans, maybe Ching Fong or Chuck, do you know if there would be any lighting along the trail that's built?
I don't know for 100% sure, but I think so. But I would have to confirm with our colleagues at Montgomery County DOT. Montgomery County DOT is going to operate and maintain that trail, not Montgomery Parks. So it's really their call, and it would be their improvement.
But we could certainly look into that and find out, because I see there's another question a little further down about, about this being an isolated space and, having security concerns. So that's something we can find out more about it. And I don't know if Sergeant Sherrard wanted to add anything else about this comment here about, this space potentially becoming dark and isolated and, with other activity happening at night.
Absolutely. In my shop here within the Park Police, the community services section, I'm the sergeant for that, for this section. And one of our responsibilities are to conduct CPTED assessments. That's crime prevention through environmental design. And we also do security. It's basically a security assessment. Whereas we can come out once everything is really underway, we can come out and we'll give our recommendations as far as lighting and so forth, so on, and make sure those recommendations are given to the appropriate individuals. But once the park is just up and going, regardless of the lighting, if you see someone in the park at dark, especially if there's no lighting, anytime it's after hours, even if it's a lit parking lot, give us a call, because again, parks are closed at dark. So if you see someone there after hours, give us a call. We'll come out and we'll address the situation. And hopefully by keeping people out of that area, since they shouldn't be there at nighttime anyhow, that will prevent some of the potential security concerns and so forth, so on.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
There's another comment here again about the idea of the water, a water feature for kids, like the fountain that was in downtown Silver Spring. So that, again, that's something, that could be considered. But as Ching Fong mentioned, that would be budget, a budget item. And I believe that the current code requires us to, because we did look into that in one of our parks, and that the code does require a bathroom in order to have a fountain that is intended for people to go in and out with bathing suits and things like that. But, again, it's something that we can consider, and, we can look into that as a possibility as well. So let's see. There's single family homes adjacent to the park. Small industrial park, no evidence of okay, so that's a response to the prior comment. Could you please elaborate about the amenities that might be welcoming for young children and their parents? So Ching Fong, could you address some ideas for that?
Yeah, I think, I want to encourage us to think about the park as space, not just things. So it's a space that have nice shade, a space that have a sense of the experience For example, like a place for people to sit, have nice tables and chairs, nice benches. Because the grade change, we have a lot of grade change. So there will be opportunity to terrace the ground. And that will create opportunities for seat walls, retaining wall, ramps, and that also provide opportunity for some separation of different experiences. And, I envision there's some amenity, for example, like a ping pong table or a game table that won't take a lot of space and everybody can use. And, there's drinking fountain. And I think this will be a nice place just to kind of stay and read or watch people or have a conversation. I think for people taking the Capitol Crescent Trail, this will be a wonderful stop that's green and shady and cool and beautiful. Of course, we're going to have nice visibility. People can see through and all that. So I'm excited. I think this park have a lot of potential. And we intend to use nice furnishing and to work with the remnant of the bridge components. So it'll be a juxtaposition of the new and the old. But we think, all this need to be carefully designed, not just a whole bunch of things put together. So my mindset is, if we can't have everything, why don't we do a few things really well and make this park is a special park for cultural heritage. In addition, it's ecologically sound and it's beautiful and welcoming. So that's kind of like the experience that I envision for this park.
Thanks, Qingfang. And also, if you have ideas for amenities you'd like to see included that you think would be, nice for this space, or if you think of other parks that, are comparable examples, we would love to hear your ideas for what you might think in the park. One other thing that we're trying in some of our newer parks, Qingfang mentioned, types of furnishings. We are, what's been more popular now are these benches that are like gentle swings, and we're putting these new furnishings in some of our parks and trying them and seeing how they hold up. But any ideas that you have or good examples that you know about, please let us know. And now that we're talking a lot about the park, I'd like to ask Cheryl, put you on the spot for a little bit, and just to ask, what your ideas, what are your thoughts about how we might, because we haven't had questions yet unless they've been answered, in writing, how we might interpret the history and, expand a little bit more on what you think the possibilities and ideas for the historic and cultural interpretation might be. You're muted. You're muted.
Okay, thank you. So with this park and having been over in the area and knowing its rich history for it, having the interpretive signs incorporated within it, but there was one particular slide that Qingfang showed early on that had a unique presentation of these historical panels. Well, panels that told the history of that one particular part. And it was one of the ideas of how we can tell the story in a manner that can be integrated into the furnishings or into the physical elements of the park, that I think about something that is different from our traditional freestanding interpretive signage, but something more that can be interactive with our public. So yes, there's the image there of these panels so that it's a wall. The wall serves a couple of different purposes. It's separation between portions of this particular park. You've got seating on one side, there's housing on the other. It provides a little bit of a buffer. That's one example, but perhaps, and something that I'd love to get some feedback from the community on, are ways to make this an interactive sort of interpretive approach. Perhaps this is a park where we can look at how we incorporate both a involvement of the youth in developing the interpretive story that's going to be told. I know there's a number of oral histories that have been done within the area, but it's how do we bring this rich history to life that is both engaging for the community itself and commemorate what's taken place. And I love the ability and the idea of incorporating the historic Talbot Avenue Bridge and those railway elements and metal features into the park in some sort of way. So I am, happy to help as we move forward with the staff of the Cultural Resources section. So we will we'll be open to other ideas of how we can program the site. It sounds like it's a little larger than this space that's shown here, and with a tiered sort of open space area. It almost sounded to me like amphitheater, and I don't want to say amphitheater as an element, but just a small natural space where people can gather. You can do spoken word activities, but you can have a gathering space to have programming as well as some sort of recreational or fitness area. I love all of those ideas that that the public will bring forward. So we're looking forward to it.
Okay, thanks. And yeah, please give us all, ideas that anybody has in our open town hall survey. I think we do have open-ended questions where we just would love to hear ideas that everybody has for this park. So I want to make sure we get through some of these other comments. Are we aware that a portion of adjacent property was taken and compensated by the Purple Line to use as construction staging? No, I wasn't aware of that. I doubt that we would be, if the land was compensated for, I don't think we would sell it back to the property owners. I think I don't think that would be on the table, but if that person would like to contact us with any concerns that we'd have, we'd be happy to talk with them about it. And then here's a question about the timing, and maybe there's a comment here, do a little more research about the house. So I'm not aware of what the issue is, but maybe that's something we need to check with our real estate section. Unless Chuck, I see your mic is turned on. If anybody on our group knows about it, speak up, but otherwise we can check with our real estate section if there's some background about the property that we should be aware of. And then there's a question here about the timetable of the park. And the timing is going to be, we can't begin construction, and actually we can begin design to some level, but not, final construction documents until we have the property, until it's turned over to us, which will not be turned over to us until its use for staging the Purple Line is completed. So, it's hard to exactly say what the timetable for the park construction would be, because we can't start on anything till the Purple Line is done with the property. And their current schedule, if there are no further delays, would be that they would be opening in fall of 2026. We are also dependent upon when our funding comes. So we're trying to be proactive by doing this planning study now. This facility plan study will, develop a preliminary design, a good detailed cost estimate so that we know how much money we would need to build the park. But then that's dependent upon getting the plan and the budget approved by the planning board, and then again, the budget approved by our county council, and in whatever time frame we might get the funding. So we're trying to be ready to be able to move on the project as soon as the land is available. So and ideally we would be, building the park immediately, after, or as soon after, the property's turned over to us as possible. But I'm being a little bit vague here because there are other considerations that are beyond our control, but our intent is to get this study done so we can, get the project in the next capital improvements program cycle and ask for the funding, but the funding would be dependent upon support by the county and approval of the budget. So if anyone has anything to add to that, chime in.
Yeah, I just want to point it out because it's a contaminated site. So any water, any grade change, all the engineering's gonna, we need to allocate funds to handle that. So maybe Brian can elaborate a little more. So this funding will have to cover a lot of the engineering portion. And in addition, if we're doing water feature and things like that, we have to be very careful because the drainage and anything involves soil, and we have to be cautious.
Yes, that's correct. So the reason that we have the contaminated soil underneath will certainly cause an expense with us bringing in fill material or somehow capping it in some way to be safe for the community. And there is the 15-foot grade change, which also provides some challenges. So those kind of situations do dig into the budget pretty heavily, especially nowadays with the cost of gasoline going up. We're being hit hard with those costs as well, and it impacts our projects. So we understand, what's those kind of things, and we certainly will try to look into different ideas, but we do like your ideas. So please keep letting us know, what you want, and especially go to the town hall and maybe put some more of those ideas, because we do want to, make this park for the public, for the area that, that everybody's going to be using it. And so I appreciate your letting me answer some of this question. Thank you.
And Brian, pipe in anytime you have something to say. So
I've been trying to answer a lot of the questions.
So, okay.
So
yeah, I know you
yeah.
have. I've seen that. So that's great. Thank you so much. And here's a comment. Can a sign be posted with a number to call near the park? And I just posted in the chat our phone number for customer service. And for some reason, my links aren't being posted as live links when I put them in the chat. But Carl, I think that is the number to call for maintenance and inquiries. Could you just confirm that?
Yes, Patricia. In all entrance of the park, there will be proper signage with the opening hours and closing hours, and park police numbers will be there, and all the violation for dumping and litter pickup and dog waste and all that stuff. Both entrance of the parks.
Okay, great. Thanks. And then another comment about, facilities, that the fountain, the skate park, the dog park. And a question about whether we would have restroom facilities. And Carl, I'm going to ask you again. I mean, we typically do not have formal restrooms except for like our major recreational and regional parks. So I don't think, we would be planning on a restroom in this park, but if anyone would want to respond on where we typically do include restrooms, Chuck, you may have some thoughts on that as well.
I don't have specific guidance. All I can tell you is that it has been a subject of discussion within our leadership, whether we do a bathroom study to more firmly identify where we do and do not put them. But I don't think this park is big enough to warrant putting a permanent restroom, but if conditions warrant, maybe a porta potty of some sort. I don't know.
Yeah, we do typically, they are costly. They do have maintenance implications. So we do typically put restrooms where we have very high levels of use, like active parks with ball fields, and you'll see them in places like Wheaton Regional Park or some of our larger parks. So we typically don't include restrooms in smaller parks. And this is more of like a stop along the trail, but it isn't where we would normally locate a restroom. And here's a comment saying that this park will be tucked away where no one will see it. And I have to say, I think there will be a lot of people who will see it. It's right along the Capitol Crescent Trail, which gets tremendous use. I think this will be a park that will get a lot of use and will be just a nice stopping point for hikers and bikers and people who live in the community. So I'm hoping that it will get a lot of use. And then an amphitheater was an idea. Can the comments captured in the Q&A be added to the town hall survey? Actually, what we can do with the comments in the Q&A, we can download the comments and post them on our website so that we will capture all of the comments that people have made. So we can make that available for people to see after the meeting and download that into a spreadsheet. So we can make those available. And our intent would be to have some follow-up notes, to summarize the discussion and the comments that we've had. So again, here is again a comment about the property taken by the Purple Line. And that is something we will have to look into, but a prior comment said there was compensation given. So I will certainly look into it. And there's a contact person with Patricia Tyson, so we can reach out and find out what this issue is. When will we next meet with you? So Ching Fong, can you talk about the schedule and our next steps? And I think our next meeting would be after we develop some design ideas. We gather all the input from and hearing from you through the survey, look at some design ideas, and then we would be back for additional to get your thoughts on those.
Yeah, our plan is to allow to collect your information through survey given 2 months, so the summertime. And of course, we have some idea based on the master plan's recommendation, the sector plan's guidance, and the situation of the site. We will have some kind of an initial spatial organization. And then once we get all the survey input, we will develop into a couple concepts to include the components that you are interested in. And I'm hoping we'll come back to you in October to share the ideas and to get your input. And then you'll have a chance to vote on the scheme and let us know what you like, what you don't like. So it's going to be exciting. I look forward to this is going to be not an easy project because of the site constraints. So we will do our best to accommodate. And again, you know, we want this to be a beautiful park that serves the community and provide ecological function. And it's a nice trail stop, and it's a little signature cultural park for Littonsville.
Okay, thanks, Ching-Fang. And it looks like we have a comment not to skimp on amenities because of the need to cover the cost of soil contamination mitigation. And yes, that's a perfectly valid point. And I think the source of the contamination, I think we can only assume it's because this was along a railroad, you know, right of way. You know, we don't know the source, but that's our assumption, is that it's been an industrial area and industrial use. And yes, this is an example of how, you know, historically African American communities have borne the brunt of a lot more pollution and with the way land has been developed. So that's a good comment. So I'd like to, I guess we're close to 8:30, but I'd like to ask if any of our staff have any other comments they'd like to make or add, or any issues you think we haven't covered. Just to take a moment.
Yeah, I put into the chat box a link to the County DOT's Capitol Crescent Trail project. So anything related to the trail, you would find information about the trail there. Our park project will relate to the trail, but we don't have any control over or really much sway even over the design of the trail. We can advise on it, but we can't mandate or require any DOT to do anything, because they're going to operate and maintain it.
Okay, that's a good point. And that was maybe addressed a little bit more of that earlier comment about the alignment. I mean, that it's far along in the design at this point. But here's another last comment about, you know, where might restroom or porta potty facilities be located along the Georgetown Branch and Capitol Crescent Trail, and, you know, plan accordingly where there are those opportunities. So that's kind of a bigger picture issues. I think we could, you know, we could consult with our trail planners about that, whether there's been consideration for that in the plans. So I
just want to quickly make a mention. There was a question about, or a few questions are hinting around about, you know, obviously the community wants to see this being green again, and, you know, they hate the fact that it would be all hardscaping. We're not trying to show to the community that that's what we're going to do. We're just certainly going to make, you know, it fair proportionally on site. We obviously love trees, so we're going to plant as many trees as we can, and we always will provide stormwater for any hardscape that we have for the project. In terms of we have to meet the state and county's regulations too, and that will certainly be a landscape feature too, because you know, those facilities are certainly you know, have plants and things like that in them too. So so that'll, you know, that'll help a little bit too on that respect, and the heat island effect and all that. So
yeah, I want to mention, you know, in terms of the program and the amenities, we want to make it as flexible, as multi-purpose as possible. So it will be able to have some flexibility, and at the same time serve as many group of users as possible. And to me, it's important. The park is beautiful. So work with me. I look forward to collaborate with you and with our park team to make this a nice new park for the community.
Okay, thanks, Ching-Fang. And I really appreciate all the questions and comments that have come through. They're all really great. And I probably didn't see all the ones that were answered, by various staff, but we will take very close look at these comments. And I really appreciate the level of engagement that everybody's had tonight. It really will help us make this a successful project. So we really look forward to working with you. Again, please make sure to go on our project webpage and take the survey on the open town hall page to provide us with any additional comments that you think of. And you can only take that open town hall survey one time. So if you have additional comments, like after you've put your ideas in the survey, comments you think of later, please, or if we didn't address an issue well enough tonight, to your satisfaction, please reach out to Ching Fong directly and, contact her at any time with any comments, ideas, or questions that you have. And before we close, I would like to acknowledge we have other team members who've been supporting us in the background on this call, particularly Melissa Chotner and Susan Stafford from our public affairs office. And Melissa's been helping coordinate, comments and putting information in the chat. So thank you to you all. You make our job much easier, and all of our work is a team effort. So we really appreciate everybody's help. So Ching Fong, do you have any final comments to close the meeting?
I want to thank Patricia for moderating the questions. You always do a good job. Thank you.
Oh, and just a couple, I see, okay, we have some answers. The recording will be posted on our project webpage as well. So we will have information, we'll have the comments from the chat, and we'll have some meeting notes there. So thank you. And Ching Fong, you want to say good night? This is your meeting.
Everyone, thank you for your time. So please do the survey and email me or put your notes in the survey. We look forward to working with you, and we're very excited about this project. Thank you so much. See you next time.